Well, it's a 30-mile-an-hour road and I'm doing 30, so don't know what Mr. Biker wants to do, to be honest. What's the thrill of doing 35 or 40 down here, I guess. It's got him a long way, obviously. Hello everyone, I am Slow Rider, this is my world, welcome, how are we all doing? Good to see you. Well, I mean, obviously I can't see. You know what I mean? I'm actually in a reasonable mood today, it's amazing. Don't really know why. Perhaps just going home, you know, leaving work, having the afternoon in beautiful sunshine. Yeah, that's not what I would have done either, Mr. Biker. Never mind. Yeah, it doesn't matter. 2 car lengths is obviously worth it. Well, 3 because you won't be on me. Oh, and I don't think that number plate's legal either. Good mood. Breathe. Anyway, hello. So, I figured I would go through some of the reasons why, when I was looking for a big bike, my first big bike, why I chose the NC750S. There were a number of factors, and I know this bike doesn't get seen as a fun bike by many people because it's got no guts and all that sort of stuff. Okay. I think most of the people who say that have never actually ridden one, to be honest. Maybe some of them have, but certainly the vast majority haven't. It only has 54 brake horsepower, I get that. It's not a lot, but brake horsepower isn't the total story, and to be honest it's kind of a meaningless thing anyway. So if it wasn't for the horsepower, why did I buy this bike? Well, there are a number of factors that I was looking into. And this happened to tick most of the boxes. The one it didn't tick was that I wanted something sports. You know, sports tourer, something like that. Couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford anything like that, so that was never going to happen. So I started looking at my other criteria. Number one, it had to have an official luggage option. Plenty of bikes have official luggage options, this one included. But when it came to luggage, this one had the advantage of the full tank at the front, the luggage box in the bike. When I compared it to some other bikes, you know, even lower priced bikes, once you put the box on the back with all the, you know, the luggage option, that, you know, well, this suddenly became a much more cost-effective option again, because it's already got a luggage box on it. You don't have to pay extra for it. Sure, from buying second-hand there'll be options, but this already had it as a brand new bike. I don't understand why people say that some of the 500cc options were better options because they're £400 cheaper. The full luggage set on this costs 700 quid. On most bikes I think it costs about that. Well, there's your 400 quid gone already. And just for a tank. So I really like that. And it's actually a really well-sized tank as well. You know, I know most people know you can get a full-sized helmet in there. That's absolutely true, you can. Mine fits in there without all the camera and equipment on and stuff like that. But also, if you think about it, and as I clearly did, I've got a chain locks, I've got a puncture repair kit, first aid kit, a foot for if I have to stop on grassy areas or gravel areas. If I'm going to work, I can put my uniform in there, a pair of shoes. And yeah, sure, I need to put my helmet in there when I finish it, you know, when I finish the day maybe. Or when I finish my ride, sorry. But if I finish my ride, the chain's coming out, and the locks are coming out, and the uniform's coming out. What have I got left then? Puncture repair kit, first aid kit, and the foot for the gravel. That's all stuff that can fit inside the helmet. And the helmet goes in the box. So the storage box is absolutely brilliant for any sort of commuting, and it's pretty handy when you're actually going anywhere. On my trip to Austria, which I did on this bike, a few thousand miles, I could have ferry stuff, I could have passport, I could have drink bottles, anything that I need quickly I could put in here. I don't have to get off the bike, go into the back, dig through the top box there. I don't have to open my jacket. Instantly accessible right in front of me. It's brilliant. I love it for that. And with the luggage options I've got on the back, that can carry all, you know, sort of the tent equipment that I might need for camping, or clothes, foods that I might need. The luggage options for this were brilliant. One of the other reasons I had for getting this bike was cost, and cost comes down in many different factors, but brand new, it's what, £7 at the minute. I think it's 6.5 when I got mine. Compare that to the likes of, say, a VFR at, what is it now, 10 grand, 11 grand, something like that. Yeah, sure, there are probably similar bikes to this for about 6-7 grand. CB500X, for example, that's about 400 quid less than this. Hasn't got any luggage, but it, you know, it's about that price range. So, and that's a 500. This is 750. There you go. You see. So this is quite keenly priced. When it came to insurance, it's relatively well priced. I mean, insurance generally is expensive, particularly for me at the moment, but if I compared it to the likes of a VFR 800, for example, this was a quarter of the cost on insurance. It's really not bad at all. But even then, there's more to this than just the overall cost of the bike and the cost of insurance, and I suppose maintenance if you want to look at it that way. Fuel. 14-litre tank, which is not the greatest in the world, but that 14-litre tank will get you over 200 miles on this bike, even at highway speeds. That's similar to the range of my CBR 500, and that's got a 17-litre tank. I think the 500 does do slightly more miles to the tank, but I don't think there's a huge amount in it, to be honest. And if you're doing higher speeds, this has got better fuel economy per gallon. At lower speeds, I think the CBR has slightly better, or other 500cc bikes have similar. So in many ways, this had, well, I mean pretty much everything, to be honest. The only downsides to this bike, and this becomes particularly when you're touring and things like that, is that because you've got this storage tank at the front, you've got a fuel tank at the back under the seat, or under the pillion seat I should say. It's a downside because if you are touring, you're probably going to have a bag on the back seat. Unless you've got someone touring with you, a pillion, you're going to have a bag on the back seat that's going to be tied down. And that means every time you stop for fuel, you've got to untie the bag, take it off, and then you can fuel the bike, and afterwards you've got to put the bag back on again, which is a bit of a pain, truth be told. But it's a compromise, because I'm not going to be touring every day. So yes, it's a consideration, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not the end of the world. And I'll grant you, this bike is not the most beautiful bike in the world. I'm riding it, not making love to it. Wait, that's the same thing, isn't it? No, in all seriousness, I don't have to look at it. It is largely a utilitarian vehicle, I'll grant you that. You know, it's not a track day bike. It's not an off-road bike. I would say that the X version of this bike isn't an off-road bike either, but that's not really the point. So it has filled every tick box I had, except it's not a sports bike. It doesn't look great. And the vast majority of YouTubers that I've seen riding this bike haven't said it's dull or boring. Quite the opposite, in fact. They've said as the more they ride it, the more fun it seems. It's a cracking little bike, as I say. For the cost, it's really good value. People talk about the power of it. Yeah, 54 brake horsepower, not a lot. Similar to a 500cc, and that is true. 500cc's are generally about 47. What people don't often say is that, I think I'm right in saying the Honda 500cc bikes have about 14 Newton meters of torque at the most, and this has 60. And not only does it have more torque, it has that much lower in the rev range, so it's almost instant. Not as good as an electric bike, well, that pretty much is instant. But whenever I've needed the power, it's been there. I've not had to sort of change down to bring in gears to bring the revs up to whatever level. And I don't know much about bikes, I really don't. People can quote figures about this, that and the other, and you know. I know that I like this bike, I know I'm comfortable on this bike, and that's what matters. I know that it does everything that I wanted it to do, bar look like a sports bike. And I do not regret buying it either. Not in the slightest. it did take a little bit of getting used to, but then it was my first big bike, so that's going to take a bit of getting used to anyway. In terms of electronics, it's fairly basic. No cruise control. Heated grips are an extra, although it is an option. No sat-nav options, no funky modes to go through, unless you buy the DCT version. As an old TV advert would say, it does exactly what it says on the tin. Have any of you out there ridden or considered riding the NC750, either the S or the X version? There is a cruiser version out there as well, but no one likes that one. If you have, what do you think? Is this a bike that briefly appeared on your radar and you thought, nah? Let me know in the comments. It did take me a while to warm up to this bike properly. But I think if I went down to one bike and I kept this one, it wouldn't be the end of the world, you know? I could live with it. I won't go as far as to say it's my ideal bike, but yeah, it's pretty close, I would say. Anyway guys, I shall leave that for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that other jazz. I'll catch you in the next video. Ta-ta for now. I did say once that if there's a sports bike version of this bike, I would probably buy it. Honda, if you're listening.